A way of life. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Just wanted to come on here to talk about Pluto turning direct that happened on September 3rd. Um, Pluto is currently in Capricorn, and anytime Pluto enters into a sign, it's there for an entire year, a little over a year, but it breaks it down and then rebuilds it back up. We had Pluto turn retrograde at the end of April and has now just turned direct September 3rd. Basically, anything that we were working on, redoing, rethinking Plutonian is going to come back up now. Um, It'll resurface in a way to help us work on that. Because this is happening in Libra season, and I did do my Libra new moon, so you can listen to how that energy is going to be playing out. But unfortunately, Libra, Scorpio has hijacked your season. It's going to feel a lot more Plutonian than it is Libra season. So it's going to be a lot more intense right now. And it's still going to be about relationships, right? All relationships, work relationships, romantic relationships, business relationships, relationships with your parents, your siblings. All that stuff is still very relative. It's just going to be, Pluto is about getting to the truth of the matter and in a way that allows you to, it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? So you'll be fixing this in a type of way where it might be really intense and it could seem all bad, but on the outcome of that is a higher, better version of yourself. Um, and then we'll go into Scorpio season and it'll be the same, but Pluto rules resources, like, or rather, the eighth house rules resources. Who you give money to, who gives money to you. So it's your relationship with other resources, other people's money. Um, Sexuality, somewhat, but on a deeper level. And then Mercury will turn retrograde on at the end of October in Scorpio. So you'll be doing all of those things over. You'll be redoing that, rethinking that. With all those relationships, they need to be, Pluto is demanding right now that we get rid of things, ideologies, ways of doing things. It might not necessarily mean that you will no longer be with somebody or it's an end to something, but dealing with issues that are keeping you stagnant and not allowing you to move forward, right? So so Mercury in Scorpio retrograde, this is going to affect fixed signs really a lot. Fixed signs are going to feel like they're going through a double retrograde. And this is also going to affect all the cardinal signs. It's just going to be really intense. You know, Pluto is the ruler of the sign Scorpio, and Scorpio rules the eighth house. That is about what's hidden, secrets, money owed to you, life, death, rebirth, sexuality, transformation, control issues, obsessions, power struggles, compulsion, suspicion, paranoia, psychological issues, trauma, and your deepest unconscious desires that you have. All this stuff is going to resurface now. You may have had some truths revealed to you over the last 5 months while it was in retrograde. Um, the intensity of the forward movement will instill a lot of strength. You'll get empowered within and deal with it in a confident way or mature way, right? Because Pluto is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is all about maturity, right? Something or someone during this time may have played a catalyst for you. You may not know why it happened or really understand it, but it set you free in some kind of way. Um, if it was nothing of that, then there was some type of reassessment that you had um, in your life about something, especially um, about relationships, right? Because this is about relationships. So you're coming from a death, if you will, a shadow, to a rebirth, to the light. Like, again, the phoenix rising from the ashes. And that's what's happening kind of in the world, right? As a world view. Um, there's a show right now called Lucifer. And it was very interesting because Pluto kind of gets a bad rap, right? That it's this dark, um, heavy energy, and heavy for sure, but dark, I'm not so convinced, right? Just because it's your deepest unconscious thoughts doesn't mean it has to be dark. It could very well be, but it doesn't have to be a negative thing, right? Um, I don't remember who I was listening to. They was talking about the story about Lucifer and how he fell in love with a woman, and they kind of make it like, that the woman going to Lucifer was like how they describe, um, a girl going to the bad boy, right? All the girls want the bad boy. Um, but she wanted to. And if you've seen the show Lucifer, the way it ended, it was like, the detective fell in love with Lucifer. And once he realized that, the way the story goes is that the first person that Lucifer falls in love with will create hell on earth. So he has to go back down to the underground. But it's an interesting thought to when you think about it that way, that she really took the time out to really get to know him. It's interesting how they had it, the woman who falls in love with him as a detective. If you know anything about Scorpio energy, they are the detectives. They will research you. They will be your friend. They will ask you 1,000 questions. They will, they will know everything about you before they decide to make you, and really to consider you a serious person in their life, right? You have to go through a bunch of tests, and like, I'm laughing, it's not funny. I just have a lot of Scorpio friends in my life, so just thinking about it, they don't take things very lightly. They are a very serious sign when it comes to their relationships, right? So you're going to see this kind of energy playing out in your life right now. These might have been some of the things that were coming up for you during that Pluto retrograde, that 5 month span where, you might have realized you were a little naive and you're not being more in your Scorpio energy, and you need to vet people. You need to do more work before you say, make that person your friend or whatever part of your life, right? Um, I just found that very interesting. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the show, but you should watch it. I don't think it comes on regular TV anymore. I think it's only on Netflix now, but they did a really good job with that. But even in light of that, because it's Halloween season, right? So we're in this energy where fears are coming up, right? That's what all scary movies are about. You see this theme playing out in every single scary movie. It never fails. Where they keep going through a certain situation, whatever that fear is for them, until they overcome that fear. So when you think about Pluto and Scorpio in that kind of way, it kind of changes the definition of what's dark, right? Um, Pluto does have the strength to deal with those issues, though, right? They are not afraid, right? They will get to the truth of the matter. So you're probably in a sense maybe gaining some type of strength to understand something differently than maybe you had, right? If we're talking about psychological issues or ideologies that you have, old stagnant energy, right? That's Capricorn. We can see that playing out in the world in a way where this is going this is going to affect us on a broader scale. Like maybe you do the same routine every day, and this Mercury retrograde is going to shut down transportation and make you think of different ways to transport every day. um, your work, um, maybe not so much on a singular the way you work, but maybe your company or organization that you work for does things right, because we're talking about Capricorn does things in such a way that's holding people back, and it's not really helping people, right? I was doing an interview, and it was interesting. I was asked a question about, how I feel about what we can do to change the community in the way of business. And it was interesting that that question came up, because now I did my new moon in Libra video, and I kind of talked about this a little bit, where we've come to a place where we're a social service society, because women have been in power for so long now that we're all like, oh, I want to hug you, and I feel so sorry for you and your issues, right? When you're talking about resources, right? So this is me thinking about nonprofit work, right? Even the companies and organizations, it's different because it's all male energy, but that's that top down patriarchal system, my way or the highway. In some kind of way it's affecting how people grow within that company. And the nonprofit side is grown in a way that's made people dependent on the system, right? So you might see people losing funding, people of power and higher power positions falling. Maybe they got caught for stealing money. I don't know. I'm making that up. The point is that we're gonna see things. We're gonna experience things in a very intense way, where one day your boss is there, and for whatever reason the next they're not. So you have to completely change the way you do things. Um, you know, this social service society with women being in power has, I think, given women an a kind of way to see what it is that, and this is going back to relationships now, how hard it is, I'll say, or how much work it takes, I'll say, for men to do what they do in their positions, making your relationship more, having a better understanding of a male's perspective and a male's point of view in this way, where women will be in a position to heal men in this way, to give them the strength to go back out into the world, to reclaim their positions, right? Rethink what it is that they want to do. Men specifically, I just want to say I'm not very comfortable talking about men and their situations. I have absolutely no idea what you guys are going through. It would be really great if somebody, a man, would come on here and talk about that. And I know there's different levels to it, right? You got some men out there who are a lot more feminine, and we could probably relate to them in a certain kind of way. But then you still have some men out there who are more masculine, and they don't really like to share. That's got to change. You have to open your mouth and say what it is you're feeling. So maybe something comes up in a kind of way where you're being forced to share, right? Because you have to change the relationship dynamics in order for us to come together in a way that allows us to build, right? So I don't remember. I think I was listening to a Phil Valentine video about, and the title was, what is a man? What is it to be a man? And as I was listening to the video, nobody could say, they kept guessing things, but they were all saying things like hard worker, or, attributes about a man that is in relation to what women want. It's very interesting. I should post that too. whatever. And I'm really bad at posting links. So if you are very interested, just send me an email or post a comment, and I'll get the link for you. But it was just very interesting how he kept saying, no, 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 that's not the answer. That's not the answer. Until we got to the real bottom line of what it was to be a man. But when he did do that, it wasn't about, hardworking, and it was more about, heart, strength, love, things that are personal to one individual person's self. But very interesting. But anyways, in that way, I still say, that ideology has to change, right? In order for us to be able to fix that, we need to know what the problem is. And when I say us, I mean just in general, as a worldview, you have to be more comfortable or get more comfortable with speaking about what your desires are, right? And being honest about that. Um, you know, on the darker side of this, point blank period, we're going to see some possessiveness, manipulation, control, people having control issues, sexuality, obviously. We've already seen a whole bunch of that in the media, people getting, whatever, for getting fired for, sexual harassment or whatever. I don't know. I don't really watch TV. We're seeing this playing out in the government. This is all Capricorn energy. Government is coming down, and we'll be forced in some kind of way to rethink and change the way we do things because of what's happening now. I don't remember what it was I was watching. I know I say that a lot, but I watch a lot of stuff. Um, and I kept trying to think of this idea of, what love is, right? Seeing as we are in Libra season. And I've always said this. I actually had this conversation with the Pisces. I'm not going to say who it was, but it was very interesting because Pisces are very like, romantic, and they still believe in chivalry and stuff like that, which is cute. It's okay, right? But as a more masculine female, those things to me I see as weaknesses, right? But I didn't want to make it seem like it was an infight, right? Because I am a Libra rising, so I'm very much about this whole Libra relationships and how we relate to others. And I don't think I've ever really gotten a good, clear, concise definition of what I meant, or what I think love is, or why I think love is a sign of weakness. And I found it. I was listening to Brother Rich. I think he was doing like a small video or something, and he happened to be talking about love. And I liked the way he put it. He said, not this lovey-dovey shit, lovey-dovey crap. I mean, not that kind of love, but strength, willpower. And I thought, Leo, precisely, that is a perfect definition of love. What are you talking about, Keisha? You're rambling. What I'm talking about is we have to understand that even in love, right, as a Libra sign, we it doesn't mean to be vulnerable in a way where it allows us to be taken advantage of. We have to gain this strength and idea about being, or about love, in a kind of way where we still know that we need to fight when it's time to fight. And we still know how to protect ourselves, right? We're not foolishly walking into something that's going to get us hurt in some kind of way. This is what I think we are in this energy together with the Scorpio, Pluto energy playing out, where we're working on building up in such a way where we are still wise enough to protect ourselves. And we don't have to be rude about it, right? This is not about being aggressive in any kind of way. And it's not to say that we can't love and be loving and romantic, right? But there's a time and a place for everything. And I think if I had to put a definition to what Scorpio's truth is bringing, and it's going to be different for everybody, but I mean, in a general sense, it's going to be about, how to love but still be able to defend yourself. And that's very Leo energy with willpower. And it's not about emotion, but they still fight with heart, right? Love at the very least. They almost actually demand it, but so, that's my kind of spiel on Pluto turning direct. If you want a reading, you can inbox me or leave a comment. I hope this information was helpful.